Why do organisations need media training?
Well, the media is something of a mystery to many people. We watch television, we listen to radio, we read newspapers, we see things online. But how do you really deal with the media? So our courses look at the opportunities that the media presents and the difficulties that some people get into without having the knowledge of dealing with the media. We first of all ask people what their experiences have been, because sometimes people are once bitten, twice shy. In reality, if that happened, it's because they did something wrong in the handling of the media. That's what normally sets the ball rolling in the wrong direction. So initially, we want to find out what their experience is, and then we're going to explain how the media really works. There is an enormous power in the media, like an electrical socket. If you put your fingers in the socket, you blow yourself up. If you plug in properly, you can channel that power.
Many people, of course, will see the media as a threat rather than an opportunity. Is there any truth in that?
Of course. And it's a threat if we're unaware of how to deal with it. So we need to understand the rules. So we have certain rules for dealing with the media. It's rather like driving a car. If you follow the rules of the highway code, you get there safely. But somebody can run into you, and that can happen in the media as well. But to make it as safe as possible, if we follow the rules and people implement what we're suggesting to them, then they have a safe passage with the media, and they can use the fantastic power that the media offers.
What advice would you give to people dealing with the media for the very first time?
You have to know what you're talking about. You have to simplify it and clarify it and magnify it. And the biggest mistake people make is they come in a too complicated fashion. What they say is full of jargon. There's a lack of understanding. And when sometimes people blame the media for getting things wrong, we've got to look at ourselves and say, what did we get wrong in front of the media? It's a magnifying glass, it's a microphone, it's an amplifier, the media. So what we're putting in front of the media has to be clear and simple, so the media and therefore the audience gets it first time.
What about those more seasoned, more experienced with the media, dealing with very complicated issues that have been through this kind of thing many times before in their own careers?
Well, many companies have come to us because they've got a major announcement. They may be closing a bottling plant in a factory. There may be redundancies. They perhaps got to change the pension plan provision in their company. How do they deal with that? Again, it's about simplifying and clarifying. It's about making sure that you're upfront and honest in everything you say. The media will always attack you if you're dishonest, quite rightly so. So when people understand that these are the rules and we can practice the message, in that kind of training course, when they have something to announce, it's very tangible, it's very real, and we rehearse the kind of questions that the media would ask them.
And tell us about those situations, those unique situations in which organisations are going through a crisis, going through an emergency. How would you deal with that?
Well, there's two ways of dealing with that. First of all, we can do some crisis planning with people. It's a desktop exercise, and we can plan through a day with a rolling scenario what would happen from their desk in terms of media interviews, and we'll simulate some media interviews during the day. On other occasions, and we've done this for 20 years or more, we've worked with organisations and, for example, simulated an oil spill on the Firth of Forth outside Edinburgh, and therefore as their emergency services swing into operation, in parallel with that has to be a media plan, and we will test with a number of journalists and broadcasters during the day how they're coping with that. We'll hit them with lots of phone calls, we'll do doorstep interviews, we'll do media conferences to make sure they can stand up and face the music.
And should people have sleepless nights before they come to a Pink Elephant Communications media training course?
Well, quite the reverse, because what this is going to do is help people have peace of mind, because without this kind of training, they may be worried about disaster visiting their company or bungling their media announcement. With this kind of training, they'll be reassured, learn the rules, get the practice, keep the DVDs, and become much better in these skills.